If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be representing the Toronto Blue Jays at the Home Run Derby. He even got going early yesterday with a long ball to win the game.
Full shush mode, as
Full
Sean LeComber
shush mode, as Sean LeComber puts.
I'm loving that
term,
by the way.
I love that too, and it's kind of cool to see, especially with now that we know there will be 0 Blue Jays starters in the All-Star game. Boy, it sure worked, eh? All the Blue Jays fans who were like, stop voting people who don't deserve it in, and then the entire Texas Rangers are now the starters.
Yeah, I honestly felt bad for Bo and all of this because it felt like, I don't know if it was Blue Jays fans stop voting or every other fan base was like, we can't let the Blue Jays, this is a joke.
This is a little of both, I think.
No.
Yeah.
And everybody came out in force. So I feel bad because Bo deserved to be a starter. Like Corey Seager.
Corey Seager is a deserving all-star, but I will say this. I was just going to say he's played 60% of the games that Bo has. And Bo's numbers are far better. But
so
I shouldn't say far better. I mean, he did play an extra month of baseball, but yeah. So Vladdy representing the Blue Jays at the Home Run Derby. Lots of people are on the fence, whether they like it, whether they don't like it. And we won't spend too much time on this, but I'm a fan. How about you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, the most exciting news I saw all month, I would say. The Vladdy, the Vladdy Derby in 2019 was maybe the most fun I've had watching baseball related events.
Because your daughter got into it with you, right?
She got into
just
it
watching
with her.
him hit bombs. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't realize what a home run derby was, I think, at that point. She was just excited, and I was excited. And yeah, it's the most fun I've had since the Donaldson Batista days and the big bat flip, I would say. So
there's a bunch of folks who are worried that this is going to mess with his swing.
I fucking hope it does.
That's where I'm at too. Honestly, worst case scenario, Adam. He comes out and is hitting like he is right now, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, that's why I wanted him in the derby, right? Was
exactly
get that swing going, fix that trajectory, whatever it is.
Plus, he is Mr. Sociability. You know he's going to be there with all of his Dominican buddies and all of his all-star friends, and he's going to be the belle of the ball and Mr. Talkative. It's going to be a fun weekend for him.
What if he doesn't hit a single home run in the Derby? Just nonstop groundouts.
What if the Pittsburgh Pirates win the World Series? Let's just make a list. No, I honestly don't think that there's any way that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. does anything but compete heartily. And worst case scenario, he's knocked out in the first round. And I still think it's going to be a good performance from him. So we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody.
Hold on. Do we have an exhaustive list of Derby contestants?
All that I have seen is J-Rod and Mookie. So that's cool. Okay. Hello and welcome to the walk-off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz. This is our Friday flagship show, and we got all sorts of things to talk about. The Jays and the Giants, a big series win against San Francisco. We'll break that down. Adam has your 3 studs and a dud for the week. We will get into Trevor Richards, the savior, the Ross Stripling, if you will, of 2023. Monster contracts. We know darn well Shohei Ohtani, the biggest free agent on the market, is going to be due for a big one at the end of the season. So we will talk monster contracts and how successful that rate is and how good of an idea it is for an organization. Ross Atkins speaks. It's always just a joy to hear the GM front office speak out of that man's mouth. We will break down the most important things that we kind of took from what he said. And finally, we will look ahead to the week in front of us. The Sox are our opponents, both the red and the white. All right, buddy, let's get into it. First, a quick little plug here for our live show. We are dead set on uniting Alberta Blue Jays fans. Of course, we had our first live show in Calgary last week. It was a ton of fun. Great to meet some of the grounds crew, that have your internet little taglines. What do you call them? Your names. Adam, help me out here. I know you know what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna let you just
blow in the wind.
blow in the wind. Right. This is great. Usernames?
Usernames. There you go.
Your little tagline.
Your little thingies. Your little thingies. Yeah, no, but it was cool to actually meet people in person, and we're doing it again in Edmonton. Long Roof Brewing in 2 weeks. Get your tickets now. The code is WALKOFF to join us for a night of Blue Jays talk, comedy, and giveaways. By the way, July 13th, there is no Blue Jays game. So we are providing you that baseball you need, that daily baseball you need. Come on out. WALKOFF is the code to get $5 off. All right, let's get into it. 45-37. This team is now 8 games above 500. 3 series wins in a row. In fact, the last 3 series, they have lost the first game and then won the next 2 to take them. The Miami Marlins, a team with a better record than the Blue Jays, they took them. Yes, the Oakland Athletics, everyone was disappointed they didn't get the sweep, but then they went in. San Francisco comes to town, another very good team, right on par with about where the Blue Jays are ranked, and they take 2 of 3, man. 6 and 3 out of their last 9 games. Despite how it happened, we're happy, right?
Yeah.
I know the fact they haven't found their offense yet it's tough to hang your hat on last night's win where they had 3 hits. Like, they won a game with 3 hits yesterday.
Hey, that was what we spent all offseason building, was a defensive juggernaut, right? We got rid of Lourdes, we got rid of Teoscar. We said, let's bring in some Gold Glove candidates. Let's win games with 3 hits at a time.
Well, it's working.
That's playoff baseball.
I think it is safe to say that it is a defensive and pitching juggernaut currently.
Yeah, I mean, pitching has really carried us.
Pitching has done all the heavy lifting for this team, and outfield defense. They're 16-10 in the month of June, which, by the way, I know it doesn't feel like it. That is tied with the Tampa Bay Rays for the best record in the American League, 16-10. It's a pretty darn good month. Chris Bassett with a huge night last night, breaking his MLB
career record, 12 strikeouts.
Career record for strikeouts, 12 strikeouts. Who would have thought that we'd be talking about Chris Bassett tying Kevin Gausman's 12 strikeouts that he had just a couple days ago?
Must have been facing a bunch of righties yesterday, hey?
So this is that's what you would think. The other, which is true, by the way. It is true. Splits, it wasn't a lefty heavy lineup. His splits do definitely benefit right-handed lineups for the Jays. But Kirk is back as his battery mate. And I'm honestly just so glad that Chris Bassett isn't calling his own games anymore. So these stats I'm about to give you are a little muddy because of the fact that Chris Bassett calls his own games. So it's kind of tough to blame the catcher for when he is the one making the calls. However, Alejandro Kirk, when he is behind the dish and he is his regular battery mate up until he was injured, Bassett has a ERA of 1.6. and is giving up a slash line to hitters of $1.49 for the batting average. 260 for the on base, and then a slug of 244. It is very impressive what he is doing with Kirk. Heineman is a 7.36 ERA and Jansen a 10.29. Again, Bassett just stopped calling his own games, but I think there is a comfortability there with Kirk that goes a long ways. Right? You're new to an organization and you get used to one guy. And obviously with time, he's probably going to settle in with all of the catchers. I think that's what the Blue Jays organization would most like, is not a pitcher to rely on any one catcher. But it is good to see that there is chemistry between those two. Chris Bassett called his recent failures somewhat a beautiful thing. So he says that he's in a much better place now with pitch calling, and is thrilled that that is off his plate. And Adam, we have talked about this so much over the 3-year span of this podcast, which is how difficult it is to call a good game as a catcher.
Yep.
Takes experience, takes doing
Years.
Years, man.
What's Joe Siddle say? 5 years before he was able to call a good game?
Yeah. Think about that. When it comes to Chris Bassett, it made all the sense in the world when he first came over to the organization to call his own games with the pitch clock, having 8 pitches. But now that the catchers have had some time to get an idea of what makes him comfortable on the mound, the game plan that he prefers, how he likes, what pitches he likes to pitch off of, right? And I'm just so glad that we're at this point. Because Chris Bassett, he's got the ability to be the number 2 or 3 in the starting rotation. We've seen him be absolutely unhittable since joining this team. And I think just the less on his plate, the less he has to think about. And I think that goes for almost every pitcher out there, the better. Look at what Yusei Kikuchi has done this season with the pitch clock and just speeding him up and getting him out of his own head. So I think it's a really good thing that Kirk is back and healthy. I think it's great that there's that chemistry between him and Bassett. And I think it's fantastic. Bassett no longer is putting calling games on his responsibility plates. So
there you go.
Bo Bichette's hit streak's over.
He's still pretty good, though.
Still pretty good. You got to give him a pass on this one.
Gotta give him a pass.
13 game hitting streak comes to an end yesterday. Why wouldn't it? They had 3 freaking hits yesterday. I still can't believe they won that game on 3 hits, man.
Yeah. Bo Bichette, by the way, 8 errors on the season. He's on pace for 16.
Mm-hmm.
There were 16 shortstops with 8 or more errors, 16 or more errors last season. So he is officially on pace for an average defensive season, Scott.
Yes. Oh my God. That would be the prediction that I made in the offseason. I'm happiest with if it comes true, because my goodness, Bo Bichette as an average shortstop sure makes this team pretty darn deadly. Did you catch that 9th inning yesterday? Jordan Romano.
Is that the one that, sorry, my games are all blurring into a mess now. Matt Chapman, error to first base?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. And then Santiago Espinal completely bails out Alejandro Kirk too, completely bails out Matt Chapman, completely bails out Jordan Romano, catching the guy stealing second base with 1 out in the 9th. I mean, number one, incredible throw by Kirky, incredible catch on the short hop by Espinal, and then the spinning twist to get the tag on. Man, this defense on the team 2023 compared to 2022, honestly, dude, it is night and day better.
Yeah. Night and day better, is right. I was just digging up this meme that Joel sent, and it's
oh yeah, I made that
here. Oh, you said, oh, sorry, I don't want to give Joel credit for something you made. Very well done then, Scott. Very well done.
Right. And I'm bad with memes, but I threw that together.
This is one of your better ones. This is great. Jordan Romano loves doing things the hard way.
Man. And it's frustrating because boy, oh boy, this Blue Jays fan base gets on him and acts like he's not an elite closer, although all of his numbers shows he is. And I've made this comparison
leads baseball
before.
and saves.
He leads baseball in saves. You look at his numbers since 2021. I mean, if you're sitting here saying he's not an elite closer, you're just wrong. The numbers just don't back that up. I'm so sorry. I understand the feeling that he's not an elite closer because he makes us sweat it out every single time. In fact, I saw a guy on Twitter, friend of the show. He reaches out all the time. I'm going to forget his name here. Irrelevant. Okay. I should have just kept going with the momentum that I had carried. As soon as I try and use my memory, it's just a slippery slope here, Adam. Anyways, somebody tweeted out, he's like, this reminds me of 2020 Rafael Dolis. Yes, he gets it done eventually, but boy, oh boy, do we sweat. And that's pretty much exactly how you feel, right? Is this year Romano has been getting it done. He does lead baseball in saves, but he'll make you sweat.
He reminds me of the old adage from hockey that a 2-goal lead is the hardest lead to defend.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, which never made sense to me as a kid. I always hated that expression. I was like, no, 1-goal leads are way harder. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, with Romano, I feel so much more confident with him coming in a 1-run lead than I do with
if
a
there's
2
no
or 3
wiggle
run lead.
room, no wiggle room, Jordan Romano is unbeatable.
Yeah,
As soon as you got some wiggle room, he's going to
strikeouts.
make sure that you get to the point where there is no wiggle room.
Yeah.
Yes. I know I've made the comparison before, but it reminds me of Grant Fuhr on those 80s Edmonton teams, right? Where it's just like, yeah, he could win a 2-1 game, but he also, if your team, if the Oilers scored 7 goals, he's going to allow 6. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, let's move on to 3 studs and a dud because it was a pretty darn good week. So I'm excited to see who your studs are.
Yeah, studs this week. Honorable mention to Mr. Bo Bichette. We'll start with that one. Bo Bichette hit 346 this week with an OPS of 846. 0 home runs, 2 RBIs. Hit streak came to an end, but still a pretty good week for Bo Bichette.
I love that he's hitting 346 this week and honorable mention.
You know, it was kind of a weird week because we didn't have any really dud-worthy performances, but we also didn't really have 3 like major mind-blowing studs either. Like it was kind of just a full team effort, as unsexy as that is. But stud number 3 this week, Mr. Yusei Kikuchi. Believe it or not. Yusei Kikuchi pitched 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, just the 1 earned run. Yusei Kikuchi, stud number 3. Any gripes with that so far, Scott?
No. Love that.
All right. Stud number 2, George Springer.
Hey.
I think this is his first appearance in the studs and duds.
Yes. So. Never been bad enough to be a dud, never good enough to be a stud. So welcome to the fold, George Springer.
George Springer hit 364 this week. He went 8 for 22, an OPS of 1014. Pretty darn good week for him. George Springer, I gotta say, I don't know who gets credit for this, but he is playing a lot of games. I don't know if that's John Schneider that gets credit for that, Ross Atkins, someone in the khakis. We're now 82 games into the season. He's played 76 games. 66 in right field.
Love it.
That's a lot of games for
a lot of games.
Mr. George Springer. His previous career high in games played, we played every single game in 2016, 162. His next highest career was the season after. He played 140 in 2017 and 2018.
And he's on pace to break that this season.
If he's on pace to play 150 games for this team, even if it's in right field for 130 and DHing for 20, man, is that ever a win. I know his numbers haven't been like eye-popping off the charts offensively so far this year, but also like he's like a Brandon Belt. Like we need him for
in the
October
playoffs.
more than we need
Yes.
him for April and May. So
And
I'm
this
fine if he's
was
hitting 270 right now.
this was the whole goal of moving him to right field, was to get more playing time out of him. The whole off season where they went out and got Kevin Kiermaier and Dalton Varsho to make sure there was no scenario in which George Springer would need to play center field, because they truly believed it would allow him on the field more often and allow him the opportunity to stay healthy. And so far, so good.
So there you go. Just wanted to bring a little attention to that fact that, like you said, that was the plan in the off season, and so far so good. I mean, knock on wood, but we're getting lots of playing time out of George Springer. I was actually a little bit blown away when I realized how few games he's missing.
Yeah.
So it's a very good thing. All right, that's
wow, that
2.
actually just, I'm sorry, man. That just blew my mind. 76 out of 82 games. Like, he's playing, what does that break down to? 90% of the first half? That's incredible.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's on pace for 150 games, even if 20 of those are at DH, I mean...
Yeah, spectacular.
We'll take that.
What a win.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That has to be a... For anybody that's, like, critical of the Lourdes Gurriel and the Teoscar departures, can you just factor in 150 games from George Springer? Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I understand projections don't always pan out, but he's on pace for 150. If this holds, can that be a part of the calculation on whether this was a win or not? Because George Springer for 150, as opposed to, I believe it was 130 we got from him last season.
Mm-hmm.
That's big time. That's massive.
That is big time. It means the goals of this front office are panning out, which...
Yep. There you go. Okay, stud number 1.
Top stud.
Top stud of the week. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Hey, some love for Vladdy. I love it.
I think he's been number 1 stud before, but it was like pretty early in April when that was happening. He hit 364 as well this week, but had an OPS of 1.349 thanks to 3 home runs.
The power's back.
3 home runs, 9 RBIs, full shush mode for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's good to see. I mean, if this is the start of something magical, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all lining up perfectly as they are now in the softer part of the season. They, of course, face the Sox, the red and the white, and then the Detroit Tigers before the All-Star break. And then Vladdy's going to go in there to the home run derby. I mean, it's all lining up for Vladdy to have a big second half, and I am here for it, baby.
Absolutely. All right, your dud of the week this week. This one, again, there wasn't too many bad performances. I mean, Dalton Varsho hit 167. Whit Merrifield hit 174. This one, maybe you're going to argue with me. Jordan Romano. Is that crazy?
Fair. No.
I mean, 2 save opportunities.
Yeah.
He didn't blow either one. He got 2 saves. He had the biggest ERA of any one of our pitchers this week, 7.71. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I know for bullpen pitchers, that's not always the best measurement. He also had the worst whip, 1.29 of any of our bullpen arms. Only got 2 strikeouts in his 2 outings.
His hard hit rate is ugly too over the last
he was hit hard. Gave up 3 hits on 10 batters faced. It's just, again, he's kind of the victim of a week where there weren't too many stinkers. You know, no one in our starting pitchers went out for 2 innings and gave up 7 runs. No one in our bullpen really imploded. But at 7 ERA from your closer, that's unacceptable.
He got it done, but yeah, it was not pretty. And you feel like you're playing with fire when he's performing like this, because sure, you're getting saves and you're locking it down, but a 7 ERA will catch up with you. Yeah, exactly. So 7 ERA will
a little too close for comfort. Anyways, Jordan Romano, your dud of the week. There you go. 3 studs and a dud. Your week 13 awards.
So now let's take our attentions to arguably the stud of the year for the Toronto Blue Jays. Trevor Richards is, I mean, it's literally mind-blowing what this dude is doing. You look at the American League strikeout rate leaders right now, and Felix Bautista leads the way with Baltimore at 50%. Matt Brash, Canadian kid with the Mariners, is in at 40%. DeGrom and Brian Abreu are sitting at 38% each. And then Trevor Richards is next in all of baseball for strikeout rate leaders at 37%, striking out more than one hitter an inning. It is absolutely insane what is going on with this man. And if you look at strikeout rate leaders in Toronto Blue Jays history, number 1 is Ken Giles at 40%. Number 2 is Trevor Richards at 37%. And this is an organization that have had some pretty big and bad back end of the rotation relievers, guys like Dwayne Ward and Tom Hankey, to see Trevor Richards as the number 2 strikeout getter in Blue Jays history when it comes to the rate in which he's getting it is absolutely mind-blowing, man. Like it is blowing me away in so many things that he is doing, you know, like his MLB percentile rankings. Okay. Chase rate, he's at a 99 percentile. He's in the 99th percentile. K rate, 97th. And whiff, 96. Like this is elite in baseball currently. In the Blue Jays 3 bullpen games since Alek Manoah's demotion, Trevor Richards and Bowden Francis have combined for 5 earned runs over 18.1 innings pitched, an ERA of 2.43.
Hey, you'll take that.
And I mean, if you were to ask anyone in this fan base, do they feel there's any way we could have seen anything close to that out of Alek Manoah? I think the answer is obviously no. I mean, we saw what just happened to him at the Florida Complex League. So great saving season shit from Trevor Richards here. And I had a crazy idea.
Okay.
Listen, Trevor Richards has been stretched out more than he's ever been in his entire career.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Trade him straight across for Ross Stripling.
There you go. Well, we're done with this topic. Next.
All right, moving on.
No, but what I was going to say is very similar to how they stretched out Ross Stripling last season. Now that Trevor Richards is already at the point where he's throwing 65 pitches in a game, maybe you stretch him out to 80, 85 pitches. Maybe you just make him the pseudo 5th starter until something more sustainable comes along. Listen, it is going to cost way more than it should to go out and get a back end of the rotation starter on the trade market. And I don't know if there's anything out there that is going to give you better production than Trevor Richards. I'm well aware that this is going to remove a high leverage piece from the pen by bumping him up to being that pseudo 5th starter. And when I say pseudo 5th starter, I mean, you know what? He goes in, he pitches 4 or 5 innings. Maybe you do the piggyback with Francis again, but he's the guy. And he's just coming out every 5th day. You need to worry about innings increase. We've seen what innings increases has done for guys within this organization, let alone around the league. And we have seen it happen numerous times around the league from last season where innings increases. Sandy Alcantara, Alek Manoah, like there's some really good examples of those innings increases hurting these guys. And so you do need to keep that in mind with Trevor Richards. That said, This season's an important one. And if Trevor Richards can be that guy every fifth start, and I'm not expecting him to be Chris Bassett and going 7-8 innings or anything insane. Can he give us 4 or 5? That's what I'm after in that fifth starter. And I think he's the most viable option currently to be that guy. Is moving Trevor Richards, Adam, to the fifth starter, is that, I mean, it's a desperate move, but is that insane?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. How's that for an answer? I mean, it's definitely above my pay grade. Certainly not qualified enough to say whether it's good or not. Do I like it?
I don't like it.
Oh, man. Well, if the alternative is trading Elvis Martinez for a third starting pitcher who can help us now, I don't really want to do that.
Like,
really,
even if it's a little bit lower of a prospect, let's say you can go out and get Rich Hill for Semro Burst. Like, that still doesn't excite me, you know, like you're just getting a Band-Aid guy to get you through. He probably isn't going to be on the playoff roster. And at least with Trevor Richards, you can set him back into the bullpen when you need him. I mean, I know it's a dangerous endeavor to yo-yo guys up and down between the rotation and the bullpen. We've seen it ruin careers. We've seen it ruin careers with the Blue Jays. Joe Biagini is a pretty good example
who
of a
cares?
guy.
It ain't my career. That's what I always say.
You do always say that. He does always say that, folks.
Here's my alternative. And I know you're going to shoot this down. For the league minimum, Madison Bumgarner.
Mm-hmm.
Roll him out there for a month. Give him like 4 starts. How bad can it be?
Can be Alek Manoah bad.
That's fine. I'm kind of at the point where I would rather have 80% winnable games. By that, I mean when Bassett's on the mound, when Barrios, Kikuchi, Gary Gossman are on the mound. That's as good a chance as we got to win. We might not win 8 out of 10. We might not go 4-1 every time through the rotation. But I don't like the idea of just depleting our bullpen to maybe get a shot at winning the 5th. Like, I know it's like you shouldn't punt on games. I get that. But also, whatever the alternative is, desperately chasing after a loss on the 5th day, sending Trevor Richards out there for 4 innings, and then kind of screwing ourselves for the other 4 star. I don't know. It's just Trevor Richards could help us 3 times a week.
And has been.
Or he can help us once a week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Grounds crew, let us know. Like, what are your initial feelings hearing Trevor Richards stretched out, coming out, doing 4 or 5 innings every 5th start? Is that an insane idea? I am well aware of how much it depletes the high leverage factor in this bullpen, because Trevor Richards has been incredible in high leverage situations and has been such a jack of all trade for John Schneider.
I would rather see Casey Lawrence.
That's fair.
Once a week, giving us 5-6 innings than Trevor Richards. That's just me. I know it's an ugly. You're going to close your eyes and hope for the best every time he's on the mound, but that's kind of where we're at. That's what I would do.
It feels so desperate right now with this 5th spot not being filled, but it is still crazy to me how even with that scenario, pitching has still been just a ironclad door.
Just absolutely bailed out by the rebound from Barrios and Kikuchi.
Yeah.
Just absolutely bailed out. Who's more important to this team? This season's Trevor Richards or last season's Ross Stripling?
Probably last season's Ross Stripling. Just, I mean,
I thought I could
look
trip you up, but yeah, you're right.
No, I mean, the numbers, you look at what Ross Stripling did last year for the Blue Jays, and it is freaking incredible. 140 innings and an ERA under
Thought
3.
I might catch you with the recency bias, but no, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. It was a
no.
trick question. It's Ross Stripling for sure.
I mean, this team right now without Trevor Richards would be up a creek without a paddle, and it would be, I bet you Trevor Richards has won a few games for this team where without him they would have been just down and out. But this transitions perfectly into what we're about to talk about, which is Ross Atkins and him coming on Blair and Barker yesterday. He sure loves to say, I feel good. He loves to feel good about things. Ross Atkins, here's a tough question, and he will respond with, well, I felt good at the time about that. Ross Atkins can be a very frustrating man to listen to speak because he never sounds genuine. Like he just...
Yeah.
I don't even blame him. I know he's there to be the mouthpiece of Rogers Communications. So how human are you going to get? But man, sometimes his answers, I'm just like, yeah, no shit, buddy. Like,
yeah.
So he did sit down with Blair and Barker yesterday, and you can go listen to it. Pretty much.
Exactly
there were
what
a
you
few
think
things,
it's going to be.
It's exactly what you thought it would be. There were a few things that stood out, which we are going to talk about. He did say he doesn't really see a scenario in which this team is a seller. We thought that already. I mean,
here's the quote that I want to pull from this.
Yes.
I mean, reading the tea leaves here, but Blair asked, is there and he mentioned like Matt Chapman expiring contract. Is there a world in which you see maybe being both a buyer and a seller?
Yes.
Potentially. And Ross Atkins said, and this one stood out to me, that's an easy no for me.
Yeah.
Of course not. He's on the hot seat. If they're a seller, he's gone.
Yeah.
He cannot admit that this team is needing to retool or rebuild or rework the lineup. Like, you cannot have another era. Like, it has got to be full steam ahead or an absolute change of course. Does it not?
It's why he feels good. It's why he feels good about everything. Like, you're right. You're nailing it, dude. How can he say anything else? He's obviously on the hot seat. He obviously has to produce results this season. And if he doesn't, I think he's gone. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree with that think that Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are tied at the hip, but I don't think so. I think as soon as there's a little bit of heat on Mark, Ross is gone.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to disagree a little bit. I don't know that he's on that hot of a seat, other than I don't think he's around for a second rebuild. Like,
you better not be.
But
if you fail on one rebuild, I mean, a rebuild of this extent too. I mean, they took over the reins at the end of 2015. So they've been in rebuild mode since, like, full on since 2018. They turned it around pretty quick, right? Since 2021, this has been a very good and fun team to watch. Definitely have not seen the promised land.
Yeah, I don't know. It just sends the wrong message to be like, hey, we misstepped. We got to anything is not good for Ross Atkins. So, no, it's got to be full steam ahead. He also used language like, you know, the players on this team, we've built a good lineup. I have confidence in these guys. They're starting to show signs that they're turning things around. Obviously, not everyone's 100% satisfied with their personal performances, blah, blah, blah. I would also agree with that. Like, as much as it's a lame thing to say, like, I mean, if I'm playing MLB The Show, the video game from this season, Blue Jays are one of the top teams I'm picking to play against. Like, whoever, it's the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Padres. Like, give me one of those stacked lineups.
Yeah. And I think we are going to need to wait and see where Rogers Communications is on the idea of adding more money. They are right up against the second luxury tax threshold. I think if they add $1.5 million, they bump up into that secondary tax where they're paying a little bit more. So I'm curious anyways to see whether they are allowed to do that, because they really can't add all that much unless they do go over that secondary luxury tax line.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
We'll see. I mean, listen, when GM Ross Atkins, he's got some big decisions to make, and he does say that staying in a 4-man rotation with a bullpen day is not the goal. I mean, obviously,
I hope not.
That would not be ideal. I think we can get through another turn or two feeling okay. So basically, and
I looked at the schedule ahead
too,
and was like, oh yeah, we can limp our way through these bums.
And I think they can. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens over the All-Star break. Does Ross Atkins put himself on the map as one of the first organizations to make a move? Or does he feel that they can limp through until August 1st? I don't know where he is on this starting rotation. He has stated that they want to go out and get something, right? The obvious area would be adding a starting pitcher. And then he says we need to balance that with the progress from Alek Manoah and Hyun-Jin Ryu. And of course, on Alek Manoah, he said that the expectation, I would be very surprised if that were not the case. And that was when he was asked if we see Alek Manoah again. So he does expect Manoah to be back. He says velo is way back up. 90s, really excited about that today when he's talking about Ricky Tiedemann, who of course has been on the IL in the minor leagues with bicep inflammation. Ricky is throwing again. It looks like he's ready for some rehab starts. His velo is touching that 98, 99 again, is what Ross was saying. So that is good news. And then the last thing that kind of stood out that Atkins brought up was the fact that when it comes to Yosfer Zulueta, who is going to be one of the Blue Jays, along with Sem Roberts, featured at the Futures game at the All-Star break. So Yosfer Zulueta, he's been a full-time reliever in AAA over the last month, and Atkins said that Zulu is trending towards being a long-term relief pitcher. So he has said that he's not completely ruling out him being a starter, but at 25 years old, it's looking like the bullpen is the route that they're going to take with him. Should we get into contracts? Did you have anything to add about what Ross Atkins said? Did anything surprise you, he said?
Not one thing. I mean, it is what it is.
What do you expect him to say, right? Like,
yeah. Okay, let's talk contracts. Monster contracts.
So, and this is all speculation. This was just something fun I heard on Twitter.
If the walk-off fails and we have to start a new podcast after we declare bankruptcy, can we name the next one This Is All Speculation with Scott?
This is all speculation, yes. Then we could just make stuff up. We'll have more biting thumbnails, right? Real clickbaity stuff. It'll be a whole new world for us.
Great.
So this is speculation, but there were rumors that surfaced that the Blue Jays did actually go to Alek Manoah about an extension, and he turned it down.
Where'd you hear this?
This was on Twitter from I don't even believe it. I forget where it was. It actually wasn't that incredible.
This already. Okay, continue.
Sorry. Well, I'm just saying, like, forget that then. Forget that. Let's just say that it is obvious that the Blue Jays could have gone to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Alek Manoah and offered them a boatload of money already. Who knows if they have or haven't. I mean, these are considered cornerstones within the organization, a major part of the core. Obviously, if you can lock that up, that's something that a lot of organizations want to do. And that's all I was getting at. more so than they actually did it. So let's forget about even the speculation, but let's just say, I know you're laughing at me and I'm sorry. I just,
No.
Twitter
It's
is
good.
a crazy thing and I can't remember everything I'm reading.
already reading the comments in our YouTube section before you've even finished your sentence on this. So continue.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Twitter. Hockey Bum 69.
Again, I've walked it back.
Jays...
I've taken it aside. Okay. All I'm saying is that there were opportunities for this front office to sign mega contracts.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I will agree with that. Yes. We could have and haven't yet offered mega contracts to at least 3 names come to the mind for every Blue Jays fan. Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Alek Manoah. Whether or not they actually did is irrelevant for this conversation. However, Blue Jays Bum 69 says insiders telling him mega deal was offered to Manoah and he turned it down. Okay, we got the scoop here. We got the thumbnail already. Clickbait. Let's go. Sorry, Scott. I'm just having fun with you. I know you're not. You're good. All right. Mega contract.
All right. Let's go. I just even know that there was some maybe jealousy is the wrong word, but definitely envy when it came to Blue Jays fan base and watching Julio Rodriguez get his big re-up, watching Wander Franco.
Hey, every time we have Hey Kami on the show, he's complaining that we are not able to lock anybody up. And he's always pointing to those guys. Everyone in Atlanta.
Jr.
Pretty much the entire roster in Atlanta has a mega deal.
Truly. So my question to you is, with all of these contracts and this front office's lack of them, do you think there's a philosophical no-fly zone for the mega contract within the Toronto Blue Jays organization? And is that a bad thing?
Yes and no. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. I think it can be a bad thing. I think philosophical, there's the word we got there. Philosophies are good to have, but they shouldn't be carved in stone. Like, you need to make exceptions for exceptional circumstances. And I don't just mean in mega contracts, but just in general, right? Like, if you have the philosophy of, hey, we're in the playoffs, we're only going to let our starting pitcher go twice through the order. That's the philosophy going into game 1. And then Gary Gossman pitches 18 up, 18 down. We're not going to let him go out for the 7th inning. Like, let's make an exception to that. He's got 18 strikeouts through 6 innings. Let's stray from philosophy. That's where I mean philosophy, if you adhere to it too stringently, gets you in trouble. Do I think that's are they, as an organization, so Atkins, Shapiro, whoever else is involved, are they philosophically averse to signing quote-unquote monster contracts? These are the 9-ish year contracts, give or take 3 years, right? 7 to 13 years. Let's just throw that out there. I think they are. Or we would have seen it by now.
I think they are too. And I mean, if you look at their track record, the longest contract to date is Jose Barrios, which was 5 years with a player option for the final 2 years. So it's a 7-year contract. Couple escalators in there, couple options. But 7 years is the max that this front office has done. And like Adam said, there is no way they haven't had opportunity to do more than that. So you look at J-Rod. Sorry, what was that?
Do you have a problem with that?
I at first did, but as time goes on and as more and more examples of these mega contracts start to produce results as to where they're headed, it just seems like it might not be the way to go. And there's still a lot of contracts out there where the verdict is still waiting to be heard. But I mean, we had David Sampson on the podcast last year, and I remember this was right when Seattle had re-upped on J-Rod. So they had just signed Julio Rodriguez 6 months into his major league career to that mega contract. And baseball declared that a winner. They declared that contract a big win for the Seattle Mariners. And there's a lot of reasons why it is. But when we brought it up to David Sampson, what did he say?
He laughed and said, "You guys are crazy to even consider this early. It's way too early."
Mm-hmm.
So
he was not having it at
by
all.
the way, $209 million over 12 years was the deal.
There's actually all sorts of little escalators and stuff in that contract where he can get it all the way up to, I think it's $400 million if he wins some MVPs and batting titles, and there's a World Series win. If things go really well for the Mariners, Julio Rodriguez is a very, very rich man.
It is a very complicated contract. I got it up here on the screen, but yeah, it's like a base of 18 mil a year, but then there's based on how many MVP votes he gets, escalators, there's a bunch of options. I know someone has showed us the flow chart of the if then factor that broke it down nicely, but it's a very complex contract, to say the least.
Can you think of a monster contract that is a big time winner? Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Like you mean like a no-brainer?
Like a no-brainer, the organization won that one by signing a mega contract. Because what's hilarious about the Ronald Acuna Jr. contract is that he signed it, what was it, 8 years, 120 million, something like that. And that has now become a cautionary tale to young superstars.
It was 8 years, 100 million.
8 years, 100 million. A cautionary tale. That's really the only contract that's, I would consider mega, over that 7-year threshold that the Blue Jays are willing to go. That is a clear winner. And I don't think there'll be another contract like that signed because Acuna is taking such a bath on it. I mean, I'm not sneezing at $100 million, but let's face it, Ronald Acuna Jr., if he were to do it over again, would probably be having a Fernando Tatis Jr. type contract in his hand.
Yeah, or at least a Manny Machado opt out halfway through kind of a contract. Yeah, I mean, okay, the Ronald Acuna Jr. does feel like kind of an unfair measurement of success because it's such a low ball.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozzy Albies is another one, 7 years, 35 million.
I know.
Like, they're getting them for free. They're getting 18 home runs out of Ozzy Albies for free this year. Like, I guess, how do you say that's not I mean, $35 million doesn't feel like a mega deal, but we're talking about a contract handed out to a 12-year-old, basically. Right? They were like, hey, this kid is going to be good once he learns how to drive himself to practice. Imagine how good he'll get, right?
So I'm going to go down a list of names here, and you tell me if you feel like the contract has been a win or a bust for the organization.
Is this rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
Okay. This is Albert just Pujols. Gut instinct.
Yeah, gut instinct. Albert Pujols.
Can you give me the numbers too, like total money and years as you go?
No.
Okay. Albert Pujols. Fail.
Yeah. And I think the
It
Albert
was like
Pujols deal was 10 years.
300-ish million,
Yeah, it was
and they
a
got like
crazy
45 home runs out of him over that time.
it was one of the first mega contracts handed out.
They did it
Giancarlo
to
Stanton.
Okay. He signed with the Marlins, right?
Yes.
And then
And
they
then was
traded him to the
traded to the
Yankees
Yankees.
mid
Yes.
contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would have to look at I don't know this one because maybe if the Marlins got a haul in return, then that's a win. I don't know. I don't know what the prospects are. If they didn't get much in return, then of course it's a fail. I would say for the Yankees, but they didn't give him the contract that like they inherited it. So that's kind of a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I'm just gonna quickly pull up the trade here. Miami Marlins trade for Stanton in exchange for 3 players. Who were the 3 players? Jorge Guzman, Jose Devers, and the next one isn't listed. This is a fucking terrible article. Starlin Castro. I don't know. I don't know enough about any of these guys to even make an evaluation. I'm gonna say bad deal. Didn't work out. 0 World Series for either club. Did the Marlins win a World Series with Giancarlo Stanton, actually?
No, it was before.
They won
their World Series well before that contract. Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's a really good caveat is that, yeah, if you make these mega deals and it flags fly forever, right, then you can definitely get away with the downfall of the contract afterwards, right? But if you look, I'm just having a really tough time finding. We can end it there just because I know that maybe we need to move along here as we're getting along in the teeth. But
no, this is great. Keep going. We rapid fired 2 questions. Give me more. Come on, keep going. I'll go quicker. I'll go quicker the rest.
Okay. Manny Machado.
Good for Manny Machado.
Yeah. Probably a win for the Padres until they re-upped on him, right?
Yeah, but they also had to.
I'm so curious, dude, where these mega contracts that have just been signed wind up being. You know, like it's so impossible right now for me to be like, hey, what do you think of the Trey Turner? You know, like it's impossible. Like if Trey Turner winds up helping the Philadelphia Phillies win a World Series, then it is going to be worth it. But if you just look at the fact that he is going to be 42 years old by the time this deal is over, it just seems like there's no way that comes out on top for the Phillies as an organization.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Aaron Judge, same thing.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is a huge overpay. I mean, he was doing good until he got hurt, but I think get used to that if you're a Yankees fan.
The one thing I will say is that if a mega contract does happen from this Toronto Blue Jays, I would love to see it structured similarly to the Wander Franco or the Julio Rodriguez contract, where there are escalators. And yeah, if it turns out to not be the most successful contract, it's a little bit easier to swallow. You know, like Tampa Bay really did a good job of insulating themselves from the risk with the way that they structured the contract and the increases and when the increases happen.
It's basically a mini Giancarlo Stanton deal. Because when he signed, it was 6.5. Marlins paid it. 9 million. Marlins paid it. 14 million. Marlins paid it. And then by the time it was 25 plus, he was a Yankee.
Yeah.
So he's getting 32 million this year as a Yankee, 32 next year as a Yankee, 32 as a it was so end loaded. That had to have been the intent all along. It was like, let's sign him to something tradable and then trade him. And that's the Wander Franco contract to a T, just a more exaggerated version of that. Francisco Lindor's contract looks ugly.
It does. Looks really ugly. Even Carlos Correa's mini Mega deal looks ugly right now, but
Mike Trout, 426 million over 12 years. If that wasn't with the Angels, I'd say that's tough. Angels have 0 playoff games to show for it so far.
yeah.
Mookie Betts, 365 over 12 with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's almost the closest thing to a good deal. He is a phenomenal athlete, and the
Yeah.
Dodgers have the organizational structure to like cash in on that.
And that's because of how good their farm system is. And I think
Right.
you can say the same thing about the Freddie Freeman deal. I mean, both
Sure.
Betts and Freeman, they are putting up huge numbers and have been worth it every single season pretty much. They have both managed to stay healthy. I know Freeman not into the contract to quite the extent that Betts is, as he's on year 1.5 right now, I think, with the Dodgers. But both of them have been nothing but success stories with the production that they're putting up to that contract currently, anyways.
So, okay, I got the list. This is just on Spotrac. This is the top contracts by total value. So, Mike Trout, bad. Mookie Betts, maybe good. Aaron Judge, almost certainly going to be bad. It's too early to tell officially, but Manny Machado, 350 million over 11 years. There's no way that is good when he's. The Padres are dysfunctional.
Yeah, they are.
Is the biggest thing acting against them. The Mets, 341 over 10 for Lindor. They've got nothing to show for any of that. Fernando Tatis Jr., 340 over 14. That is an easy one to call a cringy contract at this point. Bryce Harper, 330 over 13 for a, I don't know, DH / first baseman at this point. I know like he might end up back in right field and that's the ultimate goal, but also Tommy John, and I don't know if Bryce Harper will ever be the outfielder he used to be. Stanton, 325 over 13. That's a fail. Corey Seager, 325 over 10. He's only 27 years old for the Rangers. That one's got potential to be good.
Health was a concern, but he has been healthy so far.
Missed a month so far this season, though.
Although he missed a month this season, yeah.
324 over 9 for Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's going to be old. I don't know. I think probably that Garrett Cole contract is
not
been
bad.
Pretty good for them.
Yeah.
Rafael Devers, 313 over 10. That's a new contract. Too early to tell. Trey Turner, 300 over 11 for the Phillies.
I mean, that Xander Bogaerts contract.
Xander Bogaerts, 280 over 11. That looks bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's Carlos Correa, 200 over 6. I don't know. Christian Yelich, 188 over 7. Jacob deGrom, 185 over 5. That's already a fail. Might not pitch another game.
You sure need to know and feel confident in the guy you're investing in, eh? Like, it just blows me away, some of these contracts. Is there anyone on the Jays that you would feel comfortable with a mega deal? Bo?
Mega deal being like
10 years, 350 million.
Yeah, probably Bo if it started now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably it. It's probably the list. Bo more than Vladdy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's and it has nothing to do with the performance of Vladdy this year. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, I think because Vladdy's had an off season that I think that he's a bum and he's washed up or anything. I just give me the guy with the more athletic body. If I'm
who plays shortstop.
I mean, worst case scenario, I don't know, 350 million is a lot for a second baseman though, if you do move him. You know, if that's the ultimate what needs to happen. I don't know. I don't know. But back to the main question about does this Blue Jays front office have any interest in doing it? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either.
I think this was always the plan, was
And it's not that they're not it's not that this front office is afraid to spend money or lock a guy up for 5-6 years.
That's
We've
why,
seen that.
I'm okay with it, is because they went out and spent every extra dollar they had while having Bo and Vlad on discount contracts. So,
all right, buddy, let's wrap things up here with the week ahead. So the Boston Red Sox are coming to town. 40-42, and I say let's start the free fall for the Boston Red Sox. They, of course, swept this team the last time that the Blue Jays played them. They are 0-4 against the Sox, and man, would I love to see a sweep. I don't want to get ahead of myself, and obviously just winning the series is the most important thing. But come on, let's turn these Red Sox into sellers. That's what I want to see. I want to see this being the start of the free fall of the Boston Red Sox, who have been a above average team most of the season, 2 games below 500 now. And let's stop this AL East craziness. Kick them off their perch.
They're on a 5-game losing streak. Yeah, this is a real opportunity to, blood in the water.
Blood in the water.
Killer instinct that the Jays haven't always had. I've been critical of them for not having it. This is an opportunity to erase one extra buyer at the deadline. So
maybe even add a seller. And I'm not saying that the Red Sox are going to do a bunch of deals with the Blue Jays. However, an expiring contract when you're not going to be in the playoffs, if you can get something, a guy on my radar, especially with Ross Atkins coming out and being like, yeah, they probably do need to bolster the starting rotation. Big Maple. James Paxton, he is healthy. He is back in this Red Sox rotation, and he has looked good, man. 42.1 innings pitched this season to a 3.19 ERA. I would love to see the big left-hander in this rotation. I don't think that it's all that likely, but if we can make the Red Sox consider selling rather than sticking around, sure would love to see it. Of course, Yusei Kikuchi taking the ball on Canada Day on Saturday. He is going to be head-to-head against one of the best names in baseball, Cutter Crawford, taking the ball for the Red Sox, and then the Gaussman cometh on Sunday.
Nice.
Kevin Gausman, Gary Gausman, I should say. My apologies. And Garrett Whitlock. So the Jays line up without a bullpen day against the Red Sox. I love that pitching lineup. I think that this is a great time for the Blue Jays to continue the bleeding of the Boston Red Sox, if you will, as they are on a 5-game losing streak, like Adam said. And then they head on the road for their last 2 series before the All-Star break, visiting the White Sox and then on to Detroit to play the Tigers.
Look, I know an 11-game winning streak going into the All-Star break feels greedy. But man, would I ever love that.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too.
Red Sox, White Sox, Tigers. This is, I'm looking at the wild card standings right now, okay? So, Blue Jays holding the 3rd wild card spot. We got the Yankees half game up on us. Baltimore 4.5 up on us. Houston is a half game back, and the Angels are a game and a half back. We, of all those teams, we have the cakest schedule by a mile over the remainder of the first half leading into the All-Star break. So Blue Jays, we're looking at Red Sox, White Sox, Tigers. 7-2 isn't out of the question, right?
No.
Like a sweep and win both and win the other 2 series, that's not crazy. I feel like 7-2, 8-1, we should be able to get that done. 3 sweeps, I know, even against bad teams is a big ask, but 6-9, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be disappointed by.
Like if in the next 9 they go 6-3, I don't know if I'd be disappointed. I know what you're saying though. I don't know if I'd be disappointed, But I think that's the bare minimum this team needs to do over the next 9 games. Is
Well, 5-4 would be an absolute failure.
Oh man, it would be so frustrating. Of course, it will do. That's the thing. Even if they go 5-4, they're still going to be right in the glob of things, and I just want the glob to melt away and be like, "Hey, look, here. The Jays are up by 2 or 3 games here."
So Baltimore's schedule. Remember, Baltimore has a 4.5 game lead on us. They play the Twins 6 times and the Yankees 4 times.
Beautiful.
The Twins are below 500, but they're also like a little pesky.
Those Minnesota pesky Twins. Team.
The Yankees, no surprise, have 4 games against Baltimore because that's how games work. They also have 3 against the Cubs, 3 against the Cardinals. If nothing else, Baltimore and New York are going to get in each other's way a little bit over the next 9 games. So we'll take that. Houston, 4 games against the Rangers. Come on, give me that. Give me a 4-game sweep by the Rangers, please.
Yeah.
And 4 games against Seattle plus 2 against Colorado. Like Houston, who's a half game back of us, this feels like they have 10 games leading into the All-Star game. This could very easily be 4-6.
Yeah.
That's not unrealistic. So if we go 7-2 and they go 4-6 and we just put 3 games between us, I'll take that. LA Angels have the Arizona Diamondbacks, the San Diego Padres, and the LA Dodgers.
Man, there is definitely some hay to be made here. You can definitely gain some ground going into this All-Star break. My God, it would be so sweet to be a game or 2 back of the Orioles going into the All-Star game. Heck yeah.
Confident, rolling, coming off of Vladdy's home run derby win.
Yes.
Let's see it. Full shush mode. Let's go.
The second half is our oyster. Go Blue Jays, go. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Feel free to hit that like button. The Grounds crew, you are appreciated. Remember, get it out there. Let the word be known. Edmonton, Long Roof Brewing, July 13th, the Thursday. Get your tickets. Walk off is the code to save yourself $5. The ticket link is going to be in the comment section. If you're listening on audio, it will be in the show notes. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you Sunday for Long Toss. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.